This one has been needed doing for a minute, so I'm gonna do it. And again, I don't want to fucking edit. This is $1,000 phone. It's got a good mic. It gives enough. Okay, this is me giving up. These are my parents. This document says 35 grand, which is exactly what I said. You don't listen to the stalkers. They said 16. They said it was inheritance. It's not inheritance. It's a quit claim. Okay? And it's the opposite of inheritance, is giving up my inheritance. And read this. See? Parcel 1. 450 acres, more or less. And the list of the tracts of land just goes on and on. And parcel 2. Approximately 400 acres. 850 acres. Okay. A bunch of different plots. 7 acres, 3 acres, 2 acres, 2 acres. Jeez. You understand that falsification of the stated estimated value is so this is a quick claim to my right to all that. And this was filled out and sent to them. And I've looked, and there's no Somerset stuff in here. None of our big stuff is in here at all. This is all McCurry County, cheap land. I looked up the value. It's worth like $4,000 per acre, which is an extremely low valuation. But it's Kentucky. Now, our expensive lands are up in the city area and border a major property and stuff. So, yeah, and that is their address, by the way. This is the mansion. You can just fucking look it up on Google's Maps. And you'll notice that their lot is way bigger than any other person's lot. That's because it's 4 lots put together. And all those pine trees that form 3/4, bordered on 3 sides, I planted those. Like, we're talking 7, 8 years old. I'm doing full-time field nigger work. You have any idea what a process that is? You use a big giant machine to dig out a plug in the ground and go get a tree and bring it back on the big giant truck that sucks a tree out of the ground with big vertical or angled slats that hydraulically pump in the ground and cut it free. And then you wrap it in burlap and take it and unwrap it and break up the root ball and fertilize it and fill in the hole and shit. Like, hardcore work. And the orchard too. And some of the construction on the garage there, but the house didn't exist. I've never seen that house in person. That's not the mansion I grew up in. It's a few miles away, and we still own that too. Or they? Well, we, my ass. And it's a lot of it is off Highway 27, which is the major local highway. So, yeah, it's, I'm losing in the neighborhood of $4 million here. Well, $4 million minus the $35,000. Okay, it's 4,500 for the backwoods acreage, and then there's some shit out of a big plot. One little strip of it will border a road, and it's worth much more. But that doesn't apply to anything more than 50 yards from the road. Once you're 100 yards or 200 yards out in the woods, you can have a whole business lot there, and then it goes back to the cheap-ass $4,000. So not all of it is as cheap as that, but 85-90% is going to be trees. But we sell lumber. And when we sell lumber, there's 3 tracts of lumber we sell. Each one yields 6 figures, and it takes 30 years to regrow, and they're in rotation. So every 10 years, you get hundreds of thousands of dollars from selling timber. And I'm giving prices from the 90s. Inflation and shit's probably pushed that up. But when you own tremendous amounts of land, there's a huge tax liability, which is why it was so important for them to use me as a tax shield. And all the shit I talk about, the tax fraud, like the wave runner tractor, boat, ATVs, all that shit, the reason we can write all that off with these is we have millions of dollars in tax liability. So we just say, yeah, the boat is to take clients out and show them a good time. Technically legal. Wave runners, same thing. Now, we really don't, because we're greedy fucks. But that's what the taxes say. The ATVs, to patrol our property. This is an 850 acre sum. That ain't all of it, son. That's a chunk. Okay, and again, no mansions, no racetracks, no apartments, nothing big. There's a single plot up in Somerset worth a good $2 million. We have a billboard on it, quad billboard, full on. I helped with the installation, or was around helping direct. There was a huge labor crew on that. Install that, and it borders directly on Highway 27. And for those in Somerset, Aaron, go to John Deere. The John Deere dealership on 27. If you're looking at the front, there's John Deere on the right. And I think it was a little restaurant or ice cream or maybe furniture store, something like that. Little trailer and lot and stuff on the left, and there's a big square empty lot with a billboard on it. That's it. I keep doing that. I barely have my name at this point. We is not the correct descriptor. I hate misspeaking. I hate misrepresentation. They disowned me for being a nigger lover, and they never treated me as their son. I was the field nigger for these people. And they were surprised I ended up with the riffraff in the hometown. They treated me like shit. And when I mean field nigger, you don't understand. My father would, like, I'm 8, 9 years old, work on a second apartment complex. I'm working for him. He needs more help. So he hires the neighborhood boys. Now, I'm not getting paid. I'm unpaid labor. They're getting paid. And you know my autistic ass, how I tick and twitch and spaz and hit myself and play with things and straighten strings and fucking mess with insects and fucking get on the ground and look at bugs and whatever. I do all that shit, and he makes fun of me for not being a good worker and tells the paid labor I'm a piece of worthless shit right in front of me. Well, that's Chris Barrett. He lived across the street from my father's apartments, and he's the one that smashed me so bad in 9th grade. About 8 years later, he like knocked me out of my chair and then kicked my head repeatedly, just absolutely blasted me until I was bleeding out of my ears and shit. And had to take me to the hospital, check me for a concussion. Just fucking slammed me. And he started the fight by saying, "Hey, you're a faggot and shit," when I'm talking to other kids like. I think Kevin, big, fat, slightly blonde dude, or dyed blonde dude, and maybe Tony, something like that. And I was talking to him about recommending a movie for us to go see, and it turned out to be an absolute worthless piece of shit, and I ate my words and was just flat wrong, and that would be John Travolta's Battlefield Earth. Don't bother. I read the book. I loved the book. It was a great book. There's a reason Hubbard got to start a religion. The movie ain't shit. I fucked up. My bad. I apologize. And then someone's overhearing, butts in, and starts calling me a fag, which is dangerous to me because my father has a standing threat to put a bullet in my head if I'm a faggot with a gun with my name on it. Colt, 357 Diamondback, blue steel. The reason he's fucking with me is my father told him it was okay and encouraged him to pick on me and bully me from the youngest of ages. And I spent the rest of those intervening years, I would frequently be working at the apartments right across the street from his mama's house. And eventually, when I was driving my father's sports car around and shit, he just gets jealous and shit. This was slightly before that. 9th grade was before that. It was 11th grade. I got that. But, my father owned the block. And he lives in a shithole house, is a destitute person in bumfuck Egypt, Kentucky. And my father just greenlighted me, like, yeah, he's a worthless piece of shit, beat the fuck out of him, go ahead, I don't care. That's the type of problems I've always had to deal with. But when you look back, you get an 8-year-old doing hard labor, and he's mentally ill, and he fucks around a little bit, but I do work hard. Even my father would admit that I will work hard when I put my mind to it. And his paid labor, in this case, the paid labor that were others barely older kids, like 2 years older than me, very young. We're talking 10 years old for them, 8 for me. Just basic cleanup at the construction site, stuff like that. Fucking basic shit. But the more experienced labor, you know, the real paid labor, his regular employees that helped to build those 2 apartment complexes, the people he hired, they got fed up with the way they were treating me and stood up to him about working me so hard and put their jobs on the line to protect me, because the adult paid labor, not the punk kids, the adult paid labor was like, they went too far. That's the one of this set of examples is where my mother had me working concrete with them, and I had no safety gear. And they went in front of me and told her that they cannot do that to me. I must be provided with safety gear and shouldn't be doing it at all. And that didn't go well, and I was not permitted safety gear. And then much, much, much later, at our actual mansion, just doing small concrete work with my mother, I was complaining that I needed safety gear because the more experienced labor told me I should be doing that. And my mother got fed up with me and took a spade with concrete on the tip of it and ground it into my shin, tattooed me, and was like, you'll do what I say, you don't get safety equipment, get back to work. And I still get that tattoo to this fucking day. My left shin, about 3/4 up. I can touch it blind, because that was a beating involved too. Like, she beat me to the ground first. I'm 9-10 years old at this point, you know, so she's whacking me with a shovel and shit. She was a horrifically violent cunt bitch. And yes, she was athletic. She was a cheerleader. And she got up every morning to work out and keep herself precisely 120 pounds and starved herself stupid, and was a pure blonde hair, blue-eyed, Trump-tard, anti-vax, Fauci, ouchie, anti-science, fucking doesn't agree. She doesn't even respect self-theory. I tried to tell her in high school in honors biology about non-pH balanced solutions causing red blood cells to expand and pump and release their hemoglobin, and she thought that was bullshit. She's like, no, cells don't exist. That's just naughty science stuff. Her and her mother were violent with me for learning my science. 5th grade, there was an argument over lightning strikes. I learned that the flow of current with lightning is actually from the ground to the sky. And when you think about it, the sky is paper thin. The planet is a giant ball of mass. That makes perfect sense. But they could not understand that and beat me into saying the wrong thing. Like, you will not answer that naughty way. And I'm talking, Grandma got the Bible. My mother and grandmother together in the same room. We got up the Bible and shouted in my face and slapped in, like, slammed it closed, like the God has spoken. You're wrong. I wasn't wrong. They were inbred hillbillies that had reached the point of sterility and had to buy a kid after 12 dead babies fell out of them. So, it is what it is, and I had to take what little I could get, because, see this one little plot? 100 acres right there. Oof. That one's 4. This is the whole thing again. 1/2, 7, 2. That might be one of the lumber tracks, come to think of it. You'll never know how badly I was treated as a child. No one. I'm the only one there. I went to my grandmother for help around 7th grade, something in there, and asked her about it, asked her if she'd intervene if it got any worse, and she said, it's never happened and never beat you a single time in your life. And that's what I'll tell the cops. You've watched them in uncountable times. You're fucking joke. Oh, that's her real daughter. I'm the field nigger. Never happened. What? I didn't see none. My daughter didn't commit felonies against the child she bought. That's my real daughter. You're a piece of shit field nigger. Same woman that told me with the organ donation shit that I might be mistaken for a highborn because it looked like I was part of their family, making it clear to me that I'm not equal to them. Same bitch that told me I wasn't worth the phone call when my truck got impounded out in front of me because of dirty cops in Cincinnati, and I had to call them like, hey, the truck I have of yours is an impound. I don't know what to do. She's like, oh, you're in the hard winter. They took my coat because I had my coat reversed and I was using it as a blanket. They wouldn't let me have my coat. So she's like, I'm facing death by exposure. And she literally tells me I'm not worth a phone call. Don't bother. And my mother, we all had cell phones. They all had cell phones. Because we were rich, but my mother and father are both tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists. So they just wouldn't use them. So they do this for emergencies. If we get stuck on the side of the road, I'll risk the government getting control of my brain to call for help. But I'm going to keep it off. Because it's bad. Cell phone radiation is bad for you. So there's no way I could get to them. And I'm just stuck. No coat. Hard winter. Well below freezing. Nowhere to go. I can't. It's not my vehicle. I can't get it out of impound. Also, I don't have the money. Also, I had nothing. Fuck that. If I just got food stamps, I would have had $10,500 more to work with in college. Just a flat line. The grand total of everything they gave me post 18, $8,000 by their calculation, including transfer fees and Western Union fees or whatever. They forcibly claimed me as dependent, pocketed every penny of my college savings, and took every personal possession at 18. Like, I earned a Nintendo in the 7th grade or 8th grade, end of 8th grade, going into high school. I got a Nintendo 64. They kept it. In college, I bought myself one. They kept everything. Every single object. No, not a CD or CD player. Nicer clothes. Like my Aunt Libby, my great aunt, which is my mother's aunt, she would send me nice clothes for Christmas and stuff. And my mother's like, those clothes are too good for you, field nigger. And they belong to us. That was my aunt that bought them. You're not related. And you've been disowned from being a nigger lover. So they kept those. Abercrombie and Fitch. U.S. Polo Association or something. Nicer clothes that relatives would buy me. Oh, my adopted mother sent me to school wearing homemade clothes until the public school forced her to buy me real clothes. Forgot about that. And the bullies that I cultivated during that time period, the people that started hating on me, they're the ones in the comments, motherfucker. A good chunk of them. That and Richard Crown, Mega's all pedophile, and we're pretty much done. I've paid for in blood, which you wouldn't understand. You can make fun of me all you want, but I blew my back out at like 10 years old lifting my mother's big TV up the 3 flights of stairs necessary to get it from the driveway to the bedroom. And my father was sure enough to tell me, you're lifting wrong. You don't lift your back, you lift your legs. A 10-year-old doesn't necessarily understand all that. You just strain all your muscles and get the object picked up. Which I did. I did succeed. And the double fuck up thing, and this comes back to another time security was bullying me for laying on the ground, stretching my back. And then the house niggers, Mary Rivers and her crew, same thing. I'm laying on the ground, stretching my back. You need some time when your back goes out. You need to rest it, try to minimize inflammation, which is going to cause the pain and maybe paralysis. Like, you gotta fucking be careful. I heard the back going up with the 32-inch TV. 28-inch TV. My bedroom's right next door. I don't have a TV. I don't have nothing. I have absolutely fucking nothing. I'm not allowed. Until I was late high school, I couldn't even put a poster up. I couldn't touch an object. I was an uninvited guest, and they wouldn't even let me unpack. And I had not only no TV, but until age 15, no radio, nothing, absolutely nothing. And the music thing was a whole, not much. But I had to carry the other smaller, but still pretty heavy TV, tube TVs back in the day, down. Because I'm not allowed to watch TV. They have so many TVs I can't even count. We have 2 living rooms, 2 different levels. Both have TVs. Library, kitchen, my father's room, their bedroom, the garage, security systems. Like his bedroom has 3 TVs. His office has 2 computers and 2 TVs. Like, this is just ridiculous shit. The van had 2 TVs, one each direction, so you don't have to turn around. But I wasn't permitted light. The little light bulb in my lamp. Every day was a fight. I like to read, so no reading. To be fair, if I read more, I would be less rested, and I couldn't work as effectively for them to make them richer on my bloody, beaten back. Ugh. So I traded $35,000 for $4+ million. And would also dilute my claims, the rest of their stuff. Like, hey, you quit claimed a big chunk of the family's estate, the multi-generational estate. Can you honestly say he meant to leave you anything else? Nah, actually told me if we leave you a nickel, we have grossly miscalculated. Dead serious. And that's not for fucking up either. That was standard policy when they bought me. They told me that in elementary school. Like, you're not really our kid. We're not leaving you anything. And as soon as you hit 18, you're on your own. That's not getting disowned. The disowned part is stealing everything I have and forcibly claiming he's a dependent. And the corporate tax fraud. Yeah, that's true too. I took over one of his shell corporations, and Uncle Sam eventually going to want to have to talk to me about that. I don't know. Shame.